As we approach Moti's yard site, I want to highlight um, what I think was the central uh, factor in how Moti conducted his life, which essentially then led to creating a massive, enormous, and beautiful legacy that he's left for us. So I think that Moti really, his whole focus was to be able to help Jews and to help the Klal. That was his focus, and he did that in any which way he possibly could. Um, and he did so with being a someone who was a doer in the community. Like, he didn't let anything just go by as someone else will take care of it. He felt that it was his responsibility, um, as was evident when he um, signed up for Hatzalah. I said the story by the Levaya that there was the reason why he went into Hatzalah was because he was walking to shul at Young Israel, and there was a person who had some episode of fainting, or I'm not exactly sure, but they were on the floor and they needed Hatzalah help. They needed medical attention, and Mati at the time did not know what to do besides for Kol Hatzalah. He had no training, and it was right there that he felt that I could have helped this person faster by having the knowledge and being trained. And it was at that point that he decided and committed to become part of Hatzalah. But it wasn't that he just went took the test, which in and of itself was a whole balagan and a lot of studying, which was a very large commitment by him, and he did it and passed with flying colors. But he continued to help Hatzalah, not in just that way, but also decided that he's going to take on the role of fundraising. And fundraising he did, and as I've spoken with some of the Hatzalah members who had been there for 20 years, they said that Mati in 1 year raised some number that was like more, or if not the same as they had raised in the previous 20 years combined, and he did that in his first year. And quickly Mati rose to become the essentially the head of fundraising for Hatzalah. But it wasn't just Hatzalah, it was Magenam. He felt that the community needs to be secure, and to take the necessary steps to provide security for the shuls, the schools. And he was one of the founders of that security team, and spent a lot of time and effort, not just creating the organization, but doing the training himself and putting himself on the line to protect others within the community. Another example of Mati's chesed that he did in being a doer was his commitment to Chai Lifeline. Another aspect that I want to highlight was whatever Mati's strengths were, he used those to his utmost potential to do good for the community. And Mati was a very strong biker, and he used that for the good, and he would bike hundreds of miles for Chai Lifeline, but not just bike for the Chai Lifeline. He would raise awareness with raising money again, but also creating a team for the Los Angeles people who would go and continue to raise awareness. And in doing so, he ended up co-chairing the West Coast Young Leaders Initiative, that Chai Lifeline, a bunch of years ago. And another thing that I want to mention about Mati was that every single interaction that Mati had with anybody, even the smallest one, it always meant the world to somebody. When I was sitting Shiva for Mati, I had somebody who came to the Shiva, and he said to me, I didn't really know Mati so well, but just from the brief conversations that I had with him, I felt so close to him. And there are many others who are exactly like that. And sometimes those small interactions led to people coming and becoming more comfortable within the community. I actually just heard a story this past Shabbos about somebody who him and his wife had recently become Balei Tshuva, and they reached out to Mati. I'm not sure if they reached out or they met organically. But the point is that Mati said, you're new to the community, and if you need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. And Mati helped him out tremendously. Now this person is a staple in our community, and somebody who's so makir tov to Mati for doing that. And it was those small conversations that sometimes we see when people offer us things. We always say it's an empty offer. But when Mati did these gestures of offering to help anybody, it was definitely not an empty gesture, and people would take him up on it, and he would absolutely help them out. And I think that one of the lessons that I really have, especially in today's day and age, we see so much of divide, but we have this idea of V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, and it's very easy to love somebody who is the same as you. It's easy to love somebody who looks the same as you, who thinks the same way you do, who are interested in the same things you are. That's easy to love. A person like that is very easy to love. But the real challenge is when somebody does something that you completely disagree with, when you are opposed to their thinking, when you're opposed to the way they act. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because we're all Jews. And V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, that's the real mitzvah. The real mitzvah to love your fellow Jew is that you have to love each and every one of them, regardless of how compatible you are with them. And I think Mati really approached life with that approach, and really just he did it because for him it was all about the klal. And it's not that he didn't disagree with people, he definitely did, but he wanted the best for every single Jew, because he felt that every single Jew was his brother. So may his neshama have an aliyah, and let's be focused on V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, especially in these interesting times, to say the least. Let's do it for Mati, and we should see Mashiach b'mehera b'yameinu.